everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Tailored by BB, and in today's video we'll be learning how to draft your basic bodice block, okay, using the Helen Armstrong pattern drafting method. So yes, if you're new, thank you for watching. If you're old, we love you still. Oh yes, before we get into it, you guys, thank you for 1,000 subscribers. Please subscribe, like, share, and also if you have videos you'd like me to do, tutorials you'd like me to do, say it in the comment section and I would get to it. All right, into the video. So I'm going to be working with my body size for this bodice block. So the measurements we need, I'm going to put the picture up there so you guys can see how to take these measurements. So to draft this particular bodice block, the measurements we need are our full front, okay, freehand wall, we call this half length. So our full front is taken from the shoulder bone to the waistline. We need our nape. Yeah, so nape is from your back, that's your back neck bone to your waistline as well. So people who use Natalie Bray call this nape to waist, I think. So we use our back shoulder, that's quite popular. We use our across back. Okay, we use our front shoulder, same as the back shoulder but this time in front. We use our across front. This is also the same as your across chest, okay? That's your chest line. We use the bust measurements, we use the bust point measurements, that's shoulder to bust or shoulder to nipple point. Under bust, okay? Same shoulder to under the bust, obviously. We use our span. This is nipple to nipple, okay? We use the waist to hip measurement. Measure the hip as well. And then your waist. Okay, so these are all the measurements we'll be using to draft this pattern, okay? So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do is to write out these measurements that I just called on the top of our line, okay? So I'm going to label this line our top line. So I'm going to create about 1.5 inches for my borderline, okay? Alright, so this is going to be our top line. So let me fill in this spot right here with my measurements. So please note that on this paper, I'll be drafting out my back and my front pattern simultaneously, okay? So unlike other patterns, unlike the Natalie Bray pattern drafting method, Helen Armstrong is drafted side by side, okay? Label this step drawing of lines. So let's start infusing our lines horizontally. Okay. So the first line I'm measuring out is my full front line. Okay, so I'm marking my full front from the top line downwards. My full front is 16. So the first line we drew is our waistline, okay, using the full front measurement. So I'm going to label this to be waist. I hope you can see my handwriting. The next line is our waist to hip, okay. So I'm measuring, excuse me. So I'm measuring 9 inches downwards. Okay, so label this your hip line. So the next line to mark out is our nape, okay? To get our nape line, okay, you subtract your full front measurements from your nape measurements, okay? So the full front in this case is 16 inches, nape is 15 inches. So when you subtract that, your answer is 1, all right? So you measure 1 from, or rather you mark 1 from the top line downwards, okay? Top line downwards, top line downwards, okay? When you're drafting, the nape line is going to be on the back, all right? So this side we serve as your back pattern. Here we serve as your front pattern, okay? So unlike the waistline that we drew all the way to the front, hip line all the way to the front, for your nape line, we're going to just draw it halfway. I hope you understand. So the next line to draw is our back bust line. Alright, so to get your back bust line, measure the distance between your nape line to your waistline, okay? Get the midpoints, then add 1 inch downwards. I hope you got that. So let me illustrate that to you. The distance between my nape to my waist is 15 inches long, okay? The mid of that is 7.5. right here, okay? Then I said add 1 inch downwards, okay? So that's going to be 8.5. Yeah, so once you must have done that, to get your full back bust line, you're going to now measure the distance between this mark got in here, to your waistline. Okay, so this is 6.5. The distance between this to this is 6.5, and then you're going to mark that 6.5 all the way to the front line. Though I said this is the back bust line, but it's going to be measured all the way to the front line. Okay. So to mark out your front back line, measure the distance between your nape to your back bust line. Okay, whatever your answer is, divided by 2. So in this case, I have 8.5, divided that by 2, I have 4.25. Okay, very simple maths, it's nothing difficult. Just like the nape line, okay, the across back measurement is taken at the back. Okay, so when you're backing it on your pattern, it stops halfway because it belongs to the back alone. The next line to draw is our back shoulder line. Alright, for busts 35 and below, you come down by 1 whole number 1/4 at the back. Okay, for bust 36 and above, you come down by 1 whole number 1/2. Okay, so this is for the back. Now for the front, you use 1 whole number 1/2 for bust 35 and below, and for bust 36 and above, you use 1 whole number 3/4. I hope you got that. So in this case, my bust is below 35, so I'm going to be coming down from my nape line by 1 whole number 1/4. Alright, I hope you're able to read your tape rule very well so you can figure out where these figures are. So these are all the lines we need for the back. Now to move on to the front, we'll start by drawing out our front bust line. Now remember I said this line serves just the back, okay? This is the back bust line. So to draw the front bust line, refer to the difference between your front and nape, just like we did here to get the nape line, okay? So in my case, my front is 16, my nape is 15. The difference is 1 inch. I'm going to measure that 1 inch from my back bust line upward. I hope you got that. Okay, so for your across front measurement, this measurement is very much standard. Okay, all you need to do is measure 2 inches from the front bust line upwards. So to get my front shoulder line, I'm going to refer to these figures that I wrote out here. So I said for bust 35 and below, the figure to use is 1 whole number 1/2, which is also the same thing as 1.5. So I'm going to measure that from my top line downwards. Okay, I'm in bust 32, that's below 35. So I'm measuring that from my top line downwards. So now we have all our lines drawn out. Okay, then I'm moving on to step 2. In step 2, we impute our measurements. Okay, let's with our bust, our waist, and our hip. My bust is 32. I divide that by 4. I get 8. So the reason I divide by 4, obviously, is because this pattern is on half. Okay, this is your half bodice, right? And then the lines that go all the way, the lines that go all around is our bust line, our waist line, and our hip line. Okay, they are the full round measurements. All right, these other ones are half. Okay, so that is the reason why we're dividing the measurements by 4. So my bust measurement is 32, divide that by 4, and then we get 8. So I'm measuring my 8. I'm measuring 8 from my center. So now, please pay attention. This line right here is going to be your center back line. Okay? This line will be your center front line. Alright? So any measurements you're putting down is going to be coming from center front inward or center back inward. I hope you got that. This is my bust measurement at the back. So for the front, this is your front bust line, okay? Impute the measurements on your front bust line, not on the back bust line. So measure your 8 inches from your center front Waist measurement divided by 4. Bust, waist, hip. Alright, for my across back line, I'm going to divide my measurements by 2. So my across back is 13 inches, divided by 2, I have 6.5. I'll measure that from my center back inward. So this same across back measurement, I'm going to move it downwards, okay? I'm going to move it downwards. So also mark 6.5 on my bust line at the back, okay? I'll tell you the reason why I want to move forward in the drafting process. Okay, so for back shoulder line, divide the back shoulder measurement by 2. Now for the front, impute your cross front divided by 2. So like I did for the back, I'm also going to bring the same measurements down to my front bust line. Front shoulder divided by 2. Okay, so now all my points have been marked out. All I'm going to do now is to connect them with my ruler. Okay? So the next lines of connecting are front shoulder lines across front to front bust line. Okay, so these 3 points are joining each other. They are not connecting to these particular lines. I hope you understand. Alright, moving on. Step 3, to create our neck and our armhole. You can see it's easy, right? Very basic. To create our neck, the formula to use in getting our neck width is bust divided by 8, okay, plus 1 all over 2. Okay, so this is for our neck width. Okay, so just do this and get your answer. In my case, my answer is 2.5. So in most cases, you get really weird answers. If you're able to read your tape rule, you'll be able to figure out where those answers fall on your tape rule. Okay, so I'll be marking out my answer on my nape line. That's for the back, on my nape line. So as you see me doing, measure out whatever answer you get from your center back inward, from your center back inward. So I have 2.5. From that point, measure 0.75 upwards. It's nothing difficult, okay? I hope you understand. And then connect this mark here to your shoulder, your back shoulder line. So this will serve as a shoulder slope at the back. For your neck depth at the back, just come with your pattern master. Now moving to the front, I'm going to turn this because it's not comfortable for me. I'm measuring my 2.5, and then I'll be marking from this point to this point. For my neck depth, measuring 3 inches. So 3 inches is pretty standard for every and anybody, no matter the size. Just mark out 3 inches on your center front edge, and then come it with your pattern master. So moving on, we'll be doing the added ease, okay? If you're working with the plus size, measure 0.5 from your bust measurements here outward, okay? So the ease is only added on the bust line and on the hip line, okay? You do not touch the waistline. From the bust line, repeat the same thing on your hip line and connect to the straight line. Do the same thing for the front, okay? But if it is a small size, for like say size 4 to size 10, 12, I would say, you could use 0.25, okay? I hope you understand. So I'm going to use 0.25 as my added ease. So I'll be marking by 0.25 outside of my bust measurements. Repeat the same thing outside my hip measurements. Like I said, you're doing this for your back and for your front. So this line is called your added ease. Alright, so to get the armhole curve, place your protractor. I hope you know what the protractor is. Place your protractor on the angle 90 degree, okay? Place it here. So as you can see, this is my angle 90 degree. Once you've gotten your angle 90 degree, mark out angle 45 degree. So this here is our 45 degree mark, okay? So connect it with a straight line. Connect this point to this point with a straight line. Okay. So repeat the same thing for your front Okay. Alright. Remember when we were drafting the lines, when we were marking out the lines, I told you to bring your across back measurements down to your bust line. I even remember that. And I told you I was going to, refer back to it when it becomes useful. So this is why it's useful. We need this mark here. We need this, line to construct our armhole curve. I hope you understand. So measure the distance between this mark to your new ease mark here. From this point to this point. Measure the distance you have. Whatever your answer is, divided by 2. Okay? My answer is 1.75. Okay? Divided that by 2, that's 0.875. So mark out your answer from the points here upward. So I have 0.875. Okay? Let me see that. And then I'm going to add an extra ease of 0.5 above it. For the front, I'm going to do the same thing, okay? Measure the distance you have from the point to this point over here. I have 1.5. But unlike the back that I divided my answer by 2, I'll be dividing my answer here by 4. Are you understand? For my front, I have 1.5. So dividing 1.5 by 4, what is the math? So my answer is 0.375. So I'll mark my results from the point here upwards. I don't understand. Please, if you have any questions, just leave a message. Sorry, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Or you can reach out to me on any of my social media handles. So this is 0.375. Okay? And then also mark your 0.5 is above. So from your back shoulder lines to your across back, measure the distance you have. Whatever your answer is divided by 2. In my case, I have 3 inches divided by 2. I have 1.5. Okay? Then midpoints. On this midpoint, coming by 1 inch. Sorry, coming by 0.125. Again, please, no outrage your tape. Coming by 0.125. Okay? On my across back line, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So please note, all of these measurements that I'm imputing down for these ones, they are standard, but they are flexible. Okay? So even when you're doing all of this, when it is time to connect to draw your curve, sometimes the curve comes out looking weird. You're always able to tweak it, okay? It is flexible. They are just guidelines, so you don't draw your curve in a very, very weird way. I don't understand. For my front, get the midpoint between your front shoulder line to your across front. So in this case, my distance is 5. So midpoint 2.5. Good. So from this middle here, from this midpoint, go in by 0.375. Alright, good. So like I said, these are guidelines to draw your curve. Now let's connect the curve. So there is no rule that says your curve must connect all at once, okay? Whichever side of the curve works best for you, use it. Now when connecting here to here, my curve doesn't need to sit like this, okay? I just need to connect this point here to the added ease mark here. I understand. Now to connect my curve for the front. So if this is a little too much for you, send me a direct message so you can pay for a full class. Now moving on to span. Okay, we're almost done, you guys. It's pretty easy. Okay, we're almost done. So remember that we take span measurements in front. Okay, that's nipple to nipple. So at the back, in order to get your span line, use your cross back measurements. Okay, all you need to divide your cross back by 4. My cross back is 13. 13 divided by 4 should be 3.5. Okay, so I'll be marking that from my center back inward. Starting from my cross back line. For the front, we will be using my span measurements, okay? So my span is 6.5 divided by 2. So that my span measurement is divided by 2, okay? 6.5 divided by 2, we get 3.25. So in most cases, the answer you get for your front, that is span divided by 2 and back, across back divided by 4, sometimes it's usually the same. For some people, the back is usually bigger than the front. It varies. But the difference is not usually so much. Sometimes we have a difference of 0.5, sometimes 0.25, but it shouldn't be so far apart. I understand. So I'm going to mark in my 3.25. Alright, so moving on, I'll be marking out my bust point measurements. Whatever figure you have for the bust points, add 1 inch to it, okay? In my case, my bust point is 9 inches. Adding 1 to it, I would have 10. So you're going to impute the new answer, which is 10. I hope you understand. So mark out a 10 right here. So if you look at this pattern better, you can see that the distance between your back and the distance between your back side, and your front side, is different. It's one is longer than the other one. The front is longer than the back. So the reason we have that is because of the difference in our full fronts to the 1 inch. Okay, this 1 inch, this distance here. Right. So I'm going to get my bust dart. I'm going to mark in down 1 inch from my back bust line downwards. Connect this point to this point. We're trying to get the bust dart now. Also connect it to this point here. Alright, so this is my bust dart, okay? Alright, so to get the dart width that's imputed, measure the distance between here to here to here to here. So I'm going to label it so it's easy for us, okay? So A, B, C, D. Alright, cool. Formula to get your dart imputed is A to B, this is A to B, plus C to D, this is C to D, okay? Minus E's divided by 6. So E's in this place is whatever measurements you used for your added E's here. Okay, so in my case, for my size, for my pattern, I used 0.25 for my E's. If you work with 0.5 for your E's, that's what you're imputing in. I hope you understand. So A to B plus C to D minus E's divided by 6. Just pay attention to how I measure this, okay? This is A to B. So it says to C to D. So I hope you saw the way I transferred my tape to this point to continue measuring. Good. C to D. So my answer here is 4.875 minus 0.25 divided by 6. Alright, so after dividing 4.625 by 6, my answer is 0.77. So figure out where that is on your tape rope, okay? Just figure it out. Whatever answer you have here, okay, you'll be imputing it in 6 places. You're imputing it here on, opposite sides of your span line at the back. You're imputing it from your added E's line inward, okay? That's like 3, so let me label this 1, 2, 3. So on your added E's line on the front inward, this is 4. Then on opposite sides of the span line at the front as well, this is 5, 6. I hope you got that. Alright, so these are my dart points, okay, all 6 of them. So to determine the height and depth of my darts, I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 on my cross back line here. So I'm going to be coming down by 1.5 here. For the depth, depending on your waist to hip, I'm coming down by 6.5 here. My back dart should be longer than my front dart, so I'm using 6.5 on my back. Here for my fronts, I'll be coming down by 5.5. Connect your points. Times is coming together, okay? You guys, nothing too deep. You get the hang of it. So for the darts by the sides, I'm going to be connecting in this way. This line will serve as our side, okay? Not this line. So our back is done and it is sitting pretty. I know you love what you see, okay? So just calm down to understand it. And I promise you get it. So we'll do the same thing for the front. So the last piece remaining for our front pattern, in short for the whole pattern to be complete, is to close this bust dart, okay? Because no matter how far your front is to your back, they must come back together, okay? Because we're gonna have the front longer than the back when sewing. So we need to close these bust darts. I'm going to be tracing this. To know whether or not you're on the right track, or whether or not your pattern is right, actually we are done, okay? But to know whether or not your pattern is right, measure what you have on your side back. Okay, I have 6.5. Measure what you have on your front side as well to compare. They should either be the same or a little apart. Okay, so take a look at this. My back side or my side back is 6.5. After closing this, my front side is 6.5 as well. So worst case scenario, the difference should not be more than 0.125. That's to say, if my back is 6.5, this one might be 6.625. That's 0.25 longer. Worst case scenario. In most cases, they should align, they should be the same thing. And yes, that is all, guys. I hope this tutorial has been helpful to you. If it has, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, share it, and also comment more things you'd like to see on my page. Till next time.